Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are excited to be here sharing space together with you again. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Lindsey Frank, and I am the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully President. And today, through our sharing, we are inviting our different board members to come on, especially our women leaders, to honor International Women's Day alongside SEL Day. And so we have here with us for our next guest is Athea Davis, and she is a part of our board as well as our operational team. And I'd like to share a little bit about Athea so you can get to know her first before we engage in the practice and discussion. So Athea is from Texas. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah. Athea is the Director of Social and Emotional Learning for ITWA. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, ITWA.
ITWA
Which
Academy,
is French for star.
which I love. And Carrie, who was on earlier, she was a French teacher. So I apologize, Carrie. I know Spanish and not the French. Academy Charter School, a mindfulness educator, creator, and host of the podcast Mindful Living with Athea Davis. She's the author of Today's Gonna Be Awesome Sauce and Daily Meditations for Youth, Parents, and Families. You can join our conversations about the intersections of philosophy, mindfulness, neuroscience, SEL, psychology, and education. She holds a master's degree in educational policy and leadership. She is a Texas certified educator and an experienced registered yoga teacher of 500 hour, and is also a children's registered yoga teacher. So Athea, thank you so much for being here. And I always am so grateful for the work that you do in partnership on our board. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Lindsey, for having me. I'm really honored and grateful to be sharing this time with you and everyone that will be watching either now live or watching later.
Absolutely. And I put down at the bottom, if you'd like to follow Athea, you can follow her at Athea Davis. And you can also follow me if you aren't already. And my handle is Lindsey Frank 88. So as we move into our time here together, we are really connecting to COSEM and the power of being a part of an organization and a collective community on the same vision and mission, doing this work to advocate for mindfulness-based social and emotional learning. So Athea, would you like to share anything about how COSEM has impacted your journey, your leadership, and this work within education?
Yes, COSEM is a great organization of like-minded educators. I think oftentimes when you do this work that doesn't seem mainstream, though now it is becoming more mainstream, we have an SEL Day, more educators, more schools and districts are taking on mindfulness-based SEL work in their communities, which is a great thing, lots of growth. That being said, it sometimes feels very lonely. And it's great to be in a community of practitioners that are committed to this work, of many different educators across the United States, across the globe. So you're learning from so many different people, and to be tapped into such a rich resource has been invaluable. I would say that is a great asset of COSEM. It just puts you in connection with so many different educators with different experiences and different perspectives that always keeps you learning and growing along your journey. In addition to that, we have events and circles and all of our members in COSEM are doing a lot of great things on their own in their own communities. So learning about what they're doing, there's always something interesting going on in the world of SEL, and you're tapped into that very intimately. So that, I think, is a huge benefit of being a part of the organization of the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Athea, she is our main coordinator for events. And we were giving earlier today a shout out to an upcoming event for Kira Willie, who is
Oh, yeah.
able to join us here in just a couple of weeks now. But really empowering our community to share all of what we are doing. And so thank you for bringing that up of community, our circles, our events, our learning for that shared mission. So is there anything else that you'd like to share, perhaps even about mindfulness-based SEL and how that's impacting your work, especially as a director of SEL? So how does that play out in your life?
That's a big question. How does that play out in my life? I think the to be in the practice every single day, I think that's one way it plays out. Being in the role of director of social emotional learning is one, such an honor, and really grateful to do this work. And what that means, like personally, what am I doing on a day-to-day level to make sure I'm staying engaged in these practices? What am I doing personally? How am I getting myself set up for success so I can be that model for others on the campuses that I'm serving? I think, personally, it helps me, one, just be my best self, right, in that process of growth and development. And on all of our journeys, is that it gives me more clarity. It gives me more freedom. And what I mean by that is like this inner freedom. I'm not attached to um, certain things, results driven. I think we live in a very results driven world, and results can be really great. I mean, they're really good. We need objectives, we need standards, we need results, but it can also be out of balance. And it's important to just be in the moment of being and living and growing. And I think these tools remind us to stay anchored in those things, right? Because when we look back in the string of memories of our life, right, we're going to remember those moments of being that have really impacted us. And I say all that because I find I was just maybe I put this on Twitter the other day, but I think oftentimes we think like impact, like we have to. And so I was thinking about impact. And to me, the greatest impact is how am I showing up in the room that I'm serving in, right? Like if I'm serving as a mom, I'm serving as a friend, like what is my presence? That's so important. The story I share may be inspiring, but the space that I'm trying to create with just my presence is super important, because ultimately my successes in life, they're great and they can be fun, but they really don't matter. What matters is how we're showing up in that space for the people in our lives that we're serving. How are they being seen, heard, and valued? And I think that's where we make impact. And these practices have the power to help one cultivate that and ultimately have impact everywhere you go. Whether it's someone you're talking to while you're getting tea, or you're serving a student in the classroom, or you're remembering in traffic, that this too is a practice that you can have that impact literally everywhere you're walking.
Yeah. Well, and you brought in so many different pieces there. Like one, I want to acknowledge, I have my tea here, and I know you are an avid tea drinker as
Yes,
well.
yes. In my tumbler, always.
and just bringing that presence in, and that really connects with me, because I realized it wasn't until 2016 for me that I didn't start my personal practice, and I realized I was not present for so much of my life, and it's been a constant practice of how can I return
Yeah.
inward so I am present and I do have those memories, because when we're not present, we don't remember. Life just continues passing by. And I appreciate how you really highlighted that about the gift that presence brings and how these practices are able to do that. I have another question for you.
Yeah.
As we engage in these different practices for mindfulness-based SEL, how do we make it accessible so that students and staff really engage and embody in this work? And then what happens when we might be feeling some of that resistance, or when there might be that uncertainty around it? Can you share a little bit about your experiences with that?
Yeah, certainly. How to make it accessible. I think everybody has their own story and their own journey. So it's important to remember, meeting people where they are. I think back to the time where I thought, I don't have time to slow down. I don't have time to breathe or meditate or do yoga or anything like that. And I was very results driven. Like, what am I going to get from it? That's the first thing I wanted to know. So I think about many people I come across, whether they're adults or they're kids that I'm working with. It's like, wait a minute, what is this? So how to make it accessible is understanding and learning about those that you're in community with, right? Like making it relatable to them. What's interesting to you? Oh, soccer? Cool. Before soccer games, you got to get your mind ready, right? Like, how do you get your mind ready? And so you relate it to soccer. Oh, well, maybe soccer is not your thing. Maybe, your thing is playing an instrument. So finding like that connection point and making it relatable. And that's such a great window in. And I think the practices, and then the second part of your question is what happens when there are some resistances? Well, the nature of the practice itself brings up resistance, because when you sit and pay attention to your thoughts or your breath, your thoughts go like 100 miles an hour. Like you're sitting there thinking, am I meditating? I am not meditating. I'm so hungry. Oh my gosh, I'm ready for this. Or what's next? Or what are they thinking about what I'm doing? Your thoughts just go crazy wild, like clouds floating. And so to understand that the nature of the practice is going to bring up resistance, and that's okay. So you want to normalize it. So normalize this is normal. And sometimes, if someone is showing resistance, like not interested, I'm not going to do it. This doesn't matter to me. I've had many situations where that's happened with young people. Okay, well, in this time that we have together, make sure we're going to practice respect. That's really important. So you establish some of those community guidelines. And maybe you're just planting seeds. So when we shift our perspective about what we're doing, maybe it just looks different for each person. So sometimes I remember starting this work years ago, oh, it has to look a certain way, right? Like, step 1, 2, and 3, or if it doesn't look this way, then maybe this doesn't really count. Actually, no, every bit counts. This was just planting seeds. And so as an example, I was sharing this story earlier today on my own platform about it was a 5th grader that was just really, really, really resistant. This doesn't matter. This is stupid. I don't have this doesn't what am I going to get from this? And I had that conversation with them. Okay, but we have this time together. And as long as we practice respect, we're good. You're going to sit here. You're going to listen along. And you just do what you can. Do what you can. Do what you can. Always promoting that expectation. You do what you can. I'm going to keep the expectation here, even though you may be here. And each day you're going to get a little closer to rising to the expectation. I don't know when that will be, but day 364, swear, I kid you not. He comes up to me and says, Miss Davis, I want to lead the practices in class today. Because at this point, kids were running the practices. I'd have them come up and have student leaders lead the practices. And I was shocked. There was nothing else that indicated that I would think that he was ready for this. But all that time, these seeds were really growing. And again, just meeting people where they are. Don't just write them off like, oh, they're not. It doesn't matter. They're not getting anything. You're just planting seeds. So it's a mindset shift, and you never know what people are picking up in the spaces that you're teaching. And so ultimately, like I said, he led the practices. He asked his mom, we had used yoga mats in this particular class, asked his mom to purchase a yoga mat and said, you know what? This stuff really works. It's helping me manage my anger at home. And that was a phenomenal moment. And in the hard moments, I lean into that story to remember that that's what it looks like to meet each other, to meet all of us where we are. You just never know when those seeds are going to blossom. So So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's very valuable for all of our viewers now and later, and just embracing that resistance. And I always like to think about, even like with a rubber band, no movement ever happens if there's no resistance. So if we have that resistance, it allows us to move and to go. And so thank you. And just that beautiful imagery of planting the seeds and not knowing when they're going to blossom, but trusting that there is that work that's happening below that surface level. And it's just, it's really a beautiful imagery for me. And
Every seed, every time someone is in your presence, like if you think about it this way, instead of thinking like what results will occur in this situation because I'm sharing this practice or teaching this concept, think about it in the sense of presence. What occurs when I show up with this presence and sharing this tool without attachment? And over time, you might notice, whether they're younger students or older students being adults, they might be a little bit more curious. I always say to those in my circle and I'm teaching, don't believe anything that I'm saying, because you're your own science experiment. Mindfulness-based SEL is mind science that you will know the benefit when you do this yourself and you get that own internal data. That's exactly what the 5th grader was saying. Hey, I just was my own science experiment. I started practicing some of the tools that I said I didn't want to do, but I started to do them. And the data that I got back was, hey, this is helping me. This works. And that's what happens when we just plant those seeds. And it may not happen, unfortunately. And I think sometimes we have to say, sometimes we may not get to witness that full development, and that's okay. But that like you're just planting that, and who knows what that may open up to another year from now for someone else, and how they might be able to share that with their own circle. So
absolutely. Well, and I think what you're bringing up there too is sometimes it's hard to measure, and we're trying to quantify the results, which we can, but sometimes we have to acknowledge that it's not that the result might not be right now, and knowing that that garden is still in the route of growing. So I also just want to mention here, because you mentioned about mindfulness-based SEL, that we do have our micro credential, and throughout the entire month, if this might be an action step for someone today, the entire month we are offering a 10% off special discount from our hearts if this is the work that you want to explore. And Athea and I are both instructors for the micro credential as well, so feel free to explore that a bit further. So we'll leave that down at the bottom here for a little bit. But Athea, you have just such a wealth of knowledge and experience and presence and heart. Would you mind, for our last couple minutes here, maybe guiding us in a practice or something that we can apply into our classrooms?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to share with you a little bit of hand movement and a breathing practice called Hands on Heart. So this incorporates movement. It will incorporate gentle compression, which are all things. So the movement, the gentle compression, and the breathing practice are things that activate our rest and digest, our parasympathetic nervous system. So that's the calm and grounding sense that we get in our nervous system when we do these things in our body. So if you're working with young ones, I'm going to actually, I don't want to put any age on this. So I'm just going to leave this open for interpretation, because we were just at a circle last night and it was all about play. And I did write a book called Today's Going to Be Awesome Sauce, with lots of playful contemplation meditation. So just as a reminder that play can be for any age. So you can do this seated or standing, and you're going to take your hands and you're spread your fingers really wide. And then you're going to move your fingers slowly like a snail. really slow, and just noticing your fingers moving. And they're going to go really fast like a cheetah, and then really slow like a snail, and then really fast like a cheetah, really slow like a snail, and then freeze. And then give them a good shake out, and then freeze them. And then place your hands gently on your heart. I invite you to close your eyes. If you're uncomfortable with closing your eyes, you can just gaze towards a focal point. So Lindsey can model with closing her eyes, and I'll model with gazing towards a focal point on my computer screen. You're going to press your feet flat into the floor, whether you're sitting or standing. Gentle compression on your heart. And take a long, slow, deep breath in through your nose. And then exhale a little bit longer outside of your mouth. Putting your attention on the sound of your breath. We'll do a couple more like that. Pressing your feet on the ground, gently pressing your hands into your chest. Long, slow, deep breath in through your nose. Feeling your chest rise like a wave. And then exhale, your exhale elongated a little bit longer than the inhale out of the mouth. Relaxing your shoulders, yet staying tall. Last one here. Long, slow, deep breath in. Shoulders rise, chest rises. And then exhale, long, slow, deep breath out. Shoulders relax. Quiet moment. And then if your eyes are closed, flutter them open. And then you can release your hands from your heart and just kind of move your hands between a snail pace and a cheetah pace. And then you can bring your hands back on your thighs. That one's really great. It's one of my favorites. I love compression. Compression is my go-to tool. I often probably walk around teaching like this to remind myself to stay in my body. It's portable, accessible, any age, and again, incorporates movement, gentle compression, and your breath. All three of those put together are going to help, help anyone regulate their their nervous system, which activates that parasympathetic response, which is that relaxed response. So.
Thank you. I really appreciated that compression, and also that awareness of actually pushing my feet into the floor at the same time. This was just really bringing presence here. So I'm looking forward to being able to share that with my students as well. So thank you.
Awesome.
Is there anything else that you wish to share as we begin again to close? I will share a couple of announcements at the end, but is there anything else from your heart that you'd like to share with us?
I just want to say mindfulness-based SEL is what I believe our ticket to full and complete freedom, that inner freedom that we're all looking for, where you have your own inner insights and clarity. And it's a practice, it's a content area that I truly believe that all kids, all adults, need access to be their best and brightest self. So it can start with one simple practice like we shared today. So thanks for letting me add that really quick, Lindsey. And just one quick note, I know you mentioned my podcast. I did do a quick change. It's called Mind Declutter with Athea Davis. That was the old name, but if you're looking for that, it would be under Mind Declutter. So thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. Definitely check out COSEM. It's a great place to connect with like-minded educators committed to mindfulness-based SEL in their respective communities.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll just share a couple links down below as well. If you're not currently following us, please follow @edmindfully, and also subscribe if you're not currently a subscriber, so you can be a part of all of the different things and work and mission that we're on. And as you can see, the amazing leadership within our team here. And we're only highlighting some of us. And so if you want to find out more about our entire team, or maybe you're interested in even being a part of our team, feel free to learn a little bit more. And then also mentioning one more time here that if if you are wanting to take a bold action step today and be a part of the mindfulness-based micro-credential, we as an organization have this beautiful learning opportunity, and it is available for you and at our 10% discount for this whole month. So thank you all for celebrating SEL Day, for honoring our leaders within our organization, especially our women leaders, and just thanks always for what you do and who you are. And we will see you on the hour. We have our next presenter connection leader will be Denise Shira. So we will see you then, and enjoy your day, everybody.